Good evening, everyone. So we are back again to this manual software testing. So last week we had introduction to manual testing, which discussed about test management, and also we talk about different test levels, also software development lifecycle. Today is going to be a practical session, so we're going to look into software testing with Azure Devop. So, and how you can actually use it for test management as a test management tool, and also how you can create your test cases, how you can also manage your test cases from there, how you can even set it up. We're going to start as far as how do you set it up, what do you need to do basically to set it up from beginning to the end. So, and that's what we're going to do. So, my name is JJ Ogunaja. So if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, that's my profile, so you can actually follow me on LinkedIn. So today we're going to talk about Azure Devop. Like I said, we're going to try to see how we can set it up, what are different type of features in Azure Devop, the pipeline, the reports, the test plan, the artifacts, and perhaps also we look into the extensions. So what are they used for? So that is the plan. So it's going to be practical sessions, to be honest. So bear with me actually. So I'm going to go from having you to sign up to Azure DevOps, set it up, and do everything from beginning actually. So basically, like if you want to introduce Azure DevOps into your to your company and they haven't been using before, how do you do that? So you can actually download. There's a free version actually. So for 5 users, you can get a free version. So we're going to look into that, and then you actually set up your organization, set up your project, and then we look into different areas what they are used for. So yeah, that will be the plan for tonight. Okay, let's go. So if you can't go to this particular website, basically it's about Azure DevOps anyway, so you can actually start for free. But if you go into the DevOps one, Azure DevOps on this particular URL, so you can actually say start for free, basically. And let's say it is blue sky. So you put the organization, and so you said that okay, okay, so that also this out. Okay, all right. So you got your setup, which is basically this one. So that is my new organization. So the next one is now for you to set up your project. So you set up your project, and let's say the project is now Blue Sky. Citadel. (2020). Okay, and then you put some description and whether it's visible or is private. So, and if you want it to be visible to everyone, you make it public. So if you want it private, that is only the people that you invite into the program or into your project that will be able to see it. So you click on create project. So that is your project ready to start. So bear in mind, like I said, if your company already got Azure Devop already installed or working, you don't need these steps basically. So I will show you where you will start to use it basically. So but right now we are starting from a very basic basically. So if you can, this is something that you can also do by yourself. So it's free. So and you can even invite up to like 5 users to use your organization basically. So now I've got my organization, I've got my project. Then the next one I can do now, first one I can go back to set up my organizations and put some settings in, or I can as well just do my project settings. So to do my project settings, I click on the project settings. So what are the settings that I can make here? One, the name. I can, if I want to change the name, I can change the name from here or from the overall overview. I can change the name. I can also add descriptions, and also the process. Also, I will also look into what exactly. Let me open that one, the process, because that's also very, very, very important, because that will determine how your board is going to look into, how your board is going to look like actually. So one, let me go back. Okay. So now this is the basic process. There are other processes that you can use, because some of them is also like Scrum process, but I will select the different process actually so that you see how they look like. But in this particular process right now, you will see epic, issues, tasks. This is the default one, and your test case, your test plan, your test suite basically. That's where in in Scrum process you will see epic feature, and you will also see product backlog, and you will see task, and of course test cases, test plan, and also maybe also test suite. So but once you join an organization, you need to know the process that they use basically. That is the process, that is the basic one, or is the Scrum process, or is a CMMM process. But we look into the Agile process basically. I will leave this particular organization for now, so then we look into the other one. So that is the process. So let's go back to the overview. So this is organization again. So let's go back to the project. Okay, so on the project settings, so we've talked about the overview and also the teams. Like I said, because it's a free version, you can invite as many as 5 different people. But of course, if the people that you are also inviting are Microsoft subscriber, you cannot invite them. There's no limit on those ones. But if they're not subscribers, you can invite, I think, 5 for this particular free version. So then you'll be able to add your team, create your team, and also give them permissions. So for right now, you don't need to worry about this. So, but we'll quickly talk about what they are. So because we're going to, because this is basically like a development tool. So it's not only tester that are going to be using this particular tool. So you're going to have the developers also using it. You're going to have the PA using it. So there are also developer can also use to build their builds. So you have the build administrator. So as a tester also, you might also be involved in running the build, making sure they're okay before you install in the application, depending on what the process your organization is using. So contributor, everyone will be a contributor. Then you have a project administrator, project valid user, more, and also some people only have a reader access so that they can only read, they cannot do anything. Then your team also is involved in here. So then also different alerts that you want to receive, you can also set that one off on the notification. So whether when you change something or you change the user story, you want to get an alert, or if you choose something, you want to get an alert, you can put that to switch off on this thing or well, and you have to see refresh or change some of So those are different things that on the application that you can actually subscribe to. So for now, I want to talk about the service group. Or dashboard is also a good one, so you can create your dashboard to see which different views that you want to have. Right now it's not that important, so I'm going to leave that for now. I said you can as well also create your dashboard. You can edit dashboard as well. You can delete dashboard. So this is basically settings of what you could do. So when you uncheck, that means you don't give them the privilege to be able to edit delete dashboard. So depending on what you want to give people, so you can actually set it from here. This is your project settings. So and also your project configuration. So you can as well start this. This is also very, very important. For instance, for a Scrum Master or a project manager, if you're using this tool, this is another area that you need to use, because this is where you are going to be creating your sprint. So you have sprint 1 now. You need to set the date for this particular sprint. Let's say the sprint starts today. So today, and let's say we now run 2-week sprint, which is going to end on, okay, let's say more often some people their sprint will start like on a Tuesday or Wednesday. I've not seen anyone that has got Monday as the start of a sprint. So let's say you have the sprint starts on a Tuesday, last tomorrow, and then it ends on Monday in 2 weeks time. Okay, it should be 2 weeks. So 2 week sprint, it ends on the 27th. So that's it. So this is the first sprint. So we go from there, and then to create the next sprint, you just need to click on new child, and then it says sprint 2. So sprint 2, you would start from the same next day, which is 28, and as you can see, it's a bit intelligent and actually gives you the end date based on what you've just selected. So as you can see, from 28 to 10, that's 2 weeks. So it's going to be doing that for you. And the next one is my sprint. I'd be careful so that, because it's going to be under this particular parent. So, and I'm going to say sprint 3, and I want to start after the last one, and that's it, gone. So, and also bear in mind, some people, instead of saying sprint, they use iteration. So, and depending on what you use, let's say iteration 4. So just to everyone to know that sprint and iteration actually means the same thing. So you go on and on like that for all the sprints that you want to, based on your plan actually. Then on your configuration, team configuration, so what exactly do you plan to use? Do you want to use Epic, or do you want to see epic in your backlog, or you want to see the issues in your backlogs. And I know some people, they don't actually want to see epic. But this is, like I said, epic, the issues on epic, this is because we're using the basic project. So I'm going to go switch right now. I'll switch into the Agile one so that everyone can see the difference. So, and also you have your iterations. So here you can select the iteration that you want to see. So from the one that we've already highlighted before or created before, you can select different ones. So that one is already created. So then you can select the one that you want. So so this will appear in your when you are creating your project or your stories rather. So, and you can do that. So you can actually select default iteration and also backlog iteration. So it's very important. So so we are not using GitHub connections, so we are going to be using Azure connection for automation. So you don't need to worry about this as a manual tester, but for automation, you might need to worry about that if you're going to be using GitHub connection. So this allows you to connect to your GitHub account so that you can do push and pull from GitHub account. This is for automation, basically. Or as a repository, if you want to create your repository, basically. So your repository also, you can create repository. So we already had one already created. So you can add your repository. So, and you can put your branches and everything. So we're going to talk about this in our automation, basically. So and cross repository, I don't normally use that one. So and also you have agent pools. This one, we're going to talk about this one in our automation. So test management. So under test management, you want to also look at when you are running your tools or your tests, basically, you want to see how to detect the flaky tests actually. So do you want to use the systems detection, or you want to use a custom detection? I think it's okay to just put a system detection in there. So, and also your tests, flaky test options. So you want to include the percentage of the pass, or you want to allow users to manually mark flaky tests. So, but if you don't want to, you just want to get your results on the fly without having to mark flaky tests, you can just check only this one. So that is what you can. Retention is how long you want to keep your stuff. So that is the project settings. Like I said, also there is also organization settings that you might need to set up, but there's not much in there. Just need to know what you can change. This is my URL that I've created, so you can use that, or you can disable it. Primary privacy URL, so you don't have much, or you want to change the owner, or you want to delete your organization. So that is based on overview. Your project, this is your project. You can add new projects from here, and also you can add users from here. So it's only me right now. You can add more users, so, and you can add them to your team from what you have showed on your project before. So billing, like I've showed it to you that this is a free version. So because a free version, so you have that, and you can set up your billing if you don't want to. If you want to start paying, so for free version, as you can see, like I told you, you only have 5 basic users to use. So, and also with the test plan, that's what you have. So, and also if you want to have CI/CD, you only have one pipeline that you can use, and also you have 1,800 minutes to run on CI/CD pipeline. So auditing, I don't think we need that one. So basically, that is more at the policy. Don't think you need this one. So yeah, that is what you need in the organization settings. So, and that, so we've covered the settings right now. So the next one is for us to now use this particular tool, so that we're going to use for our test management. So like I said, we've used the basic process. So let's go back to another project that I have created, so and see the other settings, other process that were used. So let's go to this one, project settings. So this project I've called this Blue Sky Scrum, but it's basically like a Scrum anyway. So in there, you have, as you can see, you have bug, epic, feature, you have impediment, you have product backlog. This is what I would propose basically. So, and to 1 minute to create that, just go to tools, you go to your process. So this was the one that we used before. How I went into, from my organization settings, I click on the process basically. So on the process, you can see the basic is what we use for the other projects. So, and you can set to use Agile. So as you know, it's free. You can test different process to see which one you are very or the one that you like. But I would recommend the Scrum basically. So using the Scrum now for this particular one, so you will see the difference. So from here, when I go back to my project, so when I go back to my project, then I check on my settings. So as you can see, I've got bugs, I've got epic, I've got features, I've got impediments, so I can, the same settings. You just need to do like we've done before, but the only difference is your process. So on your backlog level item, you would, I think we just leave this as it is. You don't need to do anything, but in some cases you might want to add top level portfolio backlog, but you don't necessarily need that. So then this lists what your project is. So this is what your project that we have right now. You can change the process. Let's say for instance, now I use basic, I want to now use another process. So you can actually change them. So let's go to this one. On that note, I'll move into this one. So as you can see, if I go onto the settings on this one, so I go into the project. So as you can see, I'm using basic one, so I can actually change it to use other process. So I will select the process that I want right now. So if I now say I want CMMI, let's see how it's going to look like. What are the work item types that you're going to have on the CMMI, to see if it's familiar to you or not. So if you have any questions, so please, as I'm going, you can type them. So for CMMI, so you can see it's got epic, issues, tags. It's similar to what we had for Northern. I think it's not yet CMMI. That's the basic. Okay. So our process. So okay. So let's go to the So this is So our project is now here right now. So you can see the work item types. This has got a lot of work items, unlike the other ones actually. So you can see it's got bug, change request, epic, feature, issue, requirements, review. So when Scrum is talking about backlog items, so this is talking about requirements. So bug is bug. So in the Scrum, there's no change request, as you can see within AppDAF. So, but CMMI module as work at process has got change request. Epic, they both have epic, they both have features. issue, there's no concept of issue in the other one that we saw. The risk is now also created as a work item type. So as you can see, but you still have your test cases, test plan, and everything. So, and let's go back again and change it again to use a different. So I've got Scrum. So as you can see on the project now, so that is gone. So if I change to my process, and let's see what the Agile has got. So as you can see, this is got this process now. So that means if I decide to use this now, I can. It's going to be in Agile, like that. So, but okay. So that is different processes that you can have. So, and I've also showed you the Scrum also. As you can see, you can have that. So now, if we move into the project that we want to use this project, and this project basically is using the Scrum one. So, and we just go back. So that is the setting all done basically. So when you log in, you're going to come in here and you click your project, and you are there. So that is the setting. Any question on settings? So you might not need to do this for all the projects. You don't need to do this, but I just feel like I should show to you basically how you can actually set up from beginning. But it's not something that you will need to be doing every time. And once you set up that is it anyway. So you don't need to do. But however, if you're also fortunate to be in the internship, you would be using this particular tool. So you could also, if you have any issue, you have opportunity to set it up by yourself. And if you have any issues, you have the mentor to put you through on how to set it up. But once it's already set up, to be honest, it's free to use. And also, like I've shown to you right now, it's also free. It's also easy to set up. Any question? Okay. All right. So I've got some question. What is a sprint? All right. I'm going to talk about that. Okay. Is this possible to use this tool for other Kanban? Yes. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's possible to use it for Kanban also. So, and for Scrum and Kanban is basically, kind of similar basically. So you can use it for Kanban as long as you have your product backlog item. So the only thing is that you don't have the concept of sprint in Kanban, but you can as well just don't create a sprint, and you don't need to assign to the sprint, because for Scrum is the one that uses the sprint methodology actually, so that you confirm. So there's a question, what is a sprint basically? So, and there's also a part of this particular program that we offer, so which is going to address that so well actually. There's a Scrum Mastering training that if you want to learn about the full part of Agile methodology, then you can talk about that. And that particular program is going to talk about that. So now, okay, so let's talk about CMMI. To be honest, I don't really know what that is, but I would say it's on another module actually. So you can actually Google that out. I would say. So, and one thing I want to say is, in terms of sprint, I would use one example. So, right, last week I mentioned I mentioned Agile, and also I mentioned Waterfall also. So I said one, so in a Waterfall, you have your requirement gathered, you have your development started, and also you have your requirement gathered, everything finished. Development will start and they will finish before testing will start, and it's finished. But in Agile, it's not like that. So you break your story, you break your requirement into chunk. So let's say you're going to design a website. So you can take the login part and say, let us do only login, and let us do only registration. Let us do only the posting. Let us do only the edits. Let's do the admin. So you put them into different chunks and you bring them together, and then you look into them and say, what can you do within two weeks? In 2 weeks, what are the things that you want to do? So that becomes your sprint backlog. So this is basically in a layman language, to be honest. So you say, okay, what can we do in 2 weeks? So, and that will be your sprint backlog. Everything that you've marked to be done is going to be in your product backlog. I'm going to cite an example right now. So for instance, right now on this board, let's go through it, because that's just like a quick answer to the question that someone asked. So let's go to this tool. You have your project here, right? That's the name of my project. All right, let's go to this one. So Blue Sky Summer 2019. That's the name of my project. So, and then I want to see the overview of this particular project. So, like, I mentioned about the dashboard. This is the setting of the dashboard. You can decide to add other nuggets, widgets to your dashboard. So, you want to see the project status. You want to see who is assigned to different work items. You want to see the work item that you are working on. So you can actually configure this particular dashboard, and you also can show different metrics on different. Also, you can also put some extensions in there. So okay, then you have the summary, you have the dashboards also, and which type of dashboard you want, overview. That's one that we've seen before. You can create your own dashboard anyway, so you can add widgets to the dashboard. So if you click on the widget, it's going to show you which type of you want the story assigned to you. You want the build history, you want the burn down. So you just actually select the one that you want and with reference. So you can, you don't need to do this anyway. So, but this is basically you configuring your dashboard, and and then you click on add basically. So it shows you different information and metrics basically. So, and let's go. The most important part that you're going to be using, right, is going to be on the board basically. So the boards now, so you have your backlog and you have your sprint. So this is basically your product backlog, and this is your sprint backlog. So on the product backlog, you are privileged to see everything that you would be doing, every story that you are going to be doing in that particular project. So, and there are different methods that people have used depending on what your company decide to use. So you can see some people actually work from the product backlog. Some people will create a sprint backlog and start to work on sprint backlog. So depending on, I've worked in some companies that they use sprint backlog. Everything will be moved into the sprint backlog, and you create your tags from the sprint. And also also work in some companies where they actually use a swim lane on their backlog. So they work on the product backlog, but with swim lane separated the current sprint from the other particular product backlog, basically. So depending on what you decide to use, I'm going to go through the two methods right now. Last week also I mentioned about when you write your requirements as a waterfall BA, or how do you write your requirements as a agile BA. So there are two different ways. So for a waterfall BA, they will write their requirements in a bulky document, maybe 20, 30, or 100 page document, basically. And it's when they finish, and that's when development can actually, or developer can start coding on those documents. For in Agile, it's a different ballgame, basically. So what they're going to do is you break those documents that you want to do, you break them down into different user stories. So, and whether you call it a requirement, as you can see in is it CMMI quality requirement, and you can see the Scrum call it in a Scrum module in Azure Devop. It's called product backlog. So, or you call it stories, and we are actually talking about the same thing. Basically, the most one that is being used is like people call it stories. So, or product backlog item or PPIs. So, what you have is, let's say we are actually testing and we are creating a website. So what you do is you create a new product backlog item, and let's say we call the first one. This is basically our requirement. The requirement is done by the BAs. So as a tester, you don't need to do it, but you need to know what goes into this particular requirement. The first thing is the title of the requirement. Let's say it's registration. Is registration. So now they put the description of that registration. What are you going to do? So, so let's say uh, so I just want to decide. Okay. So that is your description. Then after that, you write your acceptance criteria. So as a BA, basically, this is not for QA. So the BA will write, and some in these days right now, it's going to be in a given when then what is called a given. So we're going to be using this more in automation. So I will go into how to write this in the automation so that you get familiar with it. So for I would just write it today, then you would, from next week, we would break it down into what is given, what is when. So given, I navigate to the site. Maybe sometimes you put the name of the site. So this is, yeah, assuming this is me putting my hat on as a BA. So, and you put your requirement on your description, acceptance criteria. In the last session, I actually mentioned about exit criteria and entry criteria. So your acceptance criteria is kind of your exit criteria. For you to actually say this particular requirement is passed or is being developed and is fine, this criteria needs to be met. So they need to be met before you can actually say they are working fine. So that's what they say acceptance. So for you to accept this particular requirement, this criteria needs to be met. So what you can do, this is what you save it, right? So now they are going to pass this particular story. You're going to see. Then after that, when you start working on it, maybe the BA is working on it, you put your name, you assign to yourself, or you assign to whoever is. You're going to see this particular drop down, if you have more people in your group, you be able to assign to different people. And also you can also add tags. So let's say you maybe like 2 or 3 people working on the project, also you can use this, because Azure Devop doesn't have the criteria or out of the box for you to assign more than 1 people, so more than 1 person actually. So you can assign only 1 person, but you can as well also put tags of the name of person. Let's say AG also want to join it. And also you can, if you want to use other feature, I'm going to do this right also, you can edit this particular screen. I'm going to show that to you. That's another thing I didn't actually show during this project settings. So I'm going to go back and see how you can actually reconfigure this particular screen from your project settings. So now you've got the title right, and the star is showing that you have you've not actually saved the form, and you've made some changes. You have some changes that has not yet been saved, so that's where it's showing the star. So when it's saved, the star goes away, asterisk goes away. So now the state, so you can move from new to approved to commit to done. I also mentioned, I'm going to talk about that. This is the state that you can move the work item. So the same way also you have bugs also that you can create when you find a bug, and they also can move from different states to the other. So I'm going to create a bug right now the same way. So you can say new, and then you click on bug. There are a lot of ways that you can actually create different work items. So I think the one I did before was not from here. I did from the backlog item. So if we go to the backlog, so yeah, I actually created the new work item from here. So, and you can also do this from here also, and that is going to be added to your backlog. So, or you can do it from here also, and work item or your bug. So there are different ways that you can actually do that. So let's say I'm creating a bug, and I say I run the registration. I say I cannot. Let's say registration. Okay. Let's say users cannot register. So users cannot register. So you put your repo steps, and you put your system information, and you put your certain criteria. I'm still going to come here and create the box when we are running our script. So that I will leave this one right now. What do you put in your box? So I will not actually. I just want to let you know that there are different work items. This is how to create your bug one way. So like I said, there are a lot of ways. So, and you can as well assign the bug to whoever you want it to be assigned to. And also, like I said, you can also modify this particular page. So I can save and close. That is the bug created. So, and now let's go. So this is the backlog item. So, and on the backlog item, you can view the backlog item like a list, like we are seeing right now. And also during the agile, I think they are going to mention what do they mean by planning. So I'm quickly going to talk about that, but this is just for QA. It's not agile class. There's also an agile class that if you are interested in how agile works, you can also join. So they are also started the project management, but the agile will start on later date. So during development, during your sprint, like I said, during your sprint, you would have a planning time that you can plan what goes into the sprint. So what goes into the sprint? Let's say this is our sprint 1. Sprint is basically number of days. So maybe that's one way to actually, how many days are we going to work on this particular work items? We only have 12 days or 14 days, or like this one is 17 days. I think this is kind of excessive, to be honest. So in most of the sprints that I've worked on, it's kind of like 2-week sprints, so which is like 14 days, 10 working days. So you can as well edit this particular one. You can edit it. So how do you edit it? I'll show you how to do that. You just go back to your is on the project side, not organization. Project configuration. So yeah, sprint one, you can edit the time. So I think the date, so you can change the date whatever you want. So that is not 17 if you want. Just set the right one basically. So, and like I've shown in the other project here, so you could so once you set it up, you just use it basically. So if you go back, so in your project configuration, you can set your sprint. It's basically number of days that you want to work. So that's what the sprint is. So number of days that you want to allocate to a sprint. So what you're going to do here, basically, you're going to say when you have the first sprint, you will assign work items that you want to do in that particular sprint. From the 14th of January to the 7th of January, what exactly are we going to do? We're going to do 20 PBIs. So you allocate 20 PBIs to it, and then ensure that the 20 are done. So then on the sprint 2, you allocate work items that you're going to do on that particular work, on that particular sprint. So that's what you're going to do. And then also, as time goes on, because it's possible that you've allocated 20 here and you didn't finish 20 and you only finish like 18. And then the next one, you allocate 20 again, but you finish maybe 10. And another time also, you allocate another 20, but you finish 17. So at the end, there's something they call velocity also. You actually get the average of the points that you've done in the sprint. So that will be your velocity. Just add them together, all the points, and then divide by the number of sprints that you've done. So that will give you the idea, so that the next time you don't over budget the number of points that you can do or under. So you already have a metrics to know, okay, we've not been able to do 20, so why do you have to be putting 20? So maybe 15 is realistic effort that you can actually put in your sprint. So that's how to correct this particular date. I don't want to do this on this particular project right now, so I'll go back. So then I've shown you how to create your product backlog item. So what is going to happen from your backlog? We have this. Like I said, it lists all the stories. So these are different stories that have been created, as you can see. Like you can see there, this is used for the last year internship, and I will only mention that some of them you can see people long title, it is not done. Basically, this is what you will see, like this one and this one. Not like this is basically what should go into your description or your assessment criteria. But this is what used for the training. So, and also it's all good actually, because then it's good so that I will use it to actually correct some bad practice basically. So now you can view this particular list as a board. So once you view as a board, you have it like this basically. So now you can move your board to say, okay, now it's in new state. So when it's been approved, you move it into the approved state. So once it's in the approved state, basically you can look when you're doing your project planning or in your sprint planning, you can look into all the stories and say, which one do we want to do in this sprint, basically? Or we want to do the courses page, want to do about us, want to do this. So basically, and then you will look into each of those ones, and then you would say, what is the point? So in the Agile class, they are going to talk about the points, basically, but the point is just a Fibonacci series. You actually say, okay, I've seen some companies, there are different ways that they actually allocate the points, basically. I've seen instances when people look at days, right, to say what's the effort. They look at how many days are you going to use to test this or to develop it. So let's say it is 10, it is 1 day or 2 days. So Fibonacci series is basically in this particular format. So you have 0, 0.5, no, I think 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, then you have 5. So it's actually calculated in this format. You add 0 and 1 together, it gives you 1. You add 1 and 1 together, it gives you 2. You add 2 and 1 together, that gives you 3. You add 3 and 5 together, 3 and 2 together, that gives you 5. You add 3 and 5 together, that gives you 8. And the next one will be 13, and then 21, on and on like that. So I think most places I've seen will end at 21. Then you put maybe XX, something like that. Yeah. So, and yeah, so that is the Fibonacci. So what you are saying in essence is that, so when you are doing the estimate, let's say you're using number of days, basically to say, oh, how long is it going to take us to do this particular story? You could say, oh, 1 day or 2 days. So Fibonacci series now is reduced because we have to duplicate 1. So you now have 0, 1. So because there's no concept for 0. So basically, this is what you now have: 1, 2, 3. Why did they do that? Because you can see, like 4 is not part of it, basically. So I think the concept is like, at this level, the generality is small, is okay. You can say this, it can take me 1 day or 2 days or 2 days or 3 days. But then at this point, if you say 4 days, so in most cases there's no difference between the 3 days or 5 days. So you could as well just say, okay, yeah, I can do 4 days because it's an estimation. Your effort is just like estimation, basically. So while saying 4, when you can actually decide whether 3 or 5. The same concept is also applied there also. 6 and 7 is not there. Basically saying, if I say 5, then why do I need to estimate 6 or 7? So I can, if it's not 5, I can just move to 8, basically. That's the concept. So the same thing also applies. So if it's 8, the next one is 13. If it's not 8, the next one is 13. So it's the estimation of how long this particular story is going to be done. So if you say it's going to take you 2 days, you just put 2 days in there, and that's it. So that is one. And now that number of days. And I've worked in some companies that they don't use days. Actually, they use complexity. They actually look at that story and compare with other story. And let's say this story also in only, okay, let me go back and close this story. So we look into this story. Let's say this story right now is just about us. Basically, we are only going to change the text. Basically, no much of development. So, and just label change, basically. Change the about us and make sure it's something about the company or something like that. So we can say that is one point, basically, in terms of effort, in terms of complexity. So that's what you will do. So then after that, you come to the courses page basically. And what you are going to do right now is like compare to the about us, right? Which one is more complex? So if you think the courses page is now more complex than the about us, then of course it's not going to be one again, because one is for the about us, which is so small. So you now look at that and say, okay, courses page is difficult. There are different courses that Blue Sky do, and then we have to be able to put those in perspective. And I've also worked in organizations whereby they use different metrics, even to measure the complexity. We look about complexity is one of the metrics also to measure the effort, and they also look into how repetitive it is basically. So is this something? It's not complex, but there are lots of things that we have to repeat basically. So because we are repeating that, it also adds to the time, and it's not that complex. That is one. Then other thing that they also consider in the effort is they look into, is there any uncertainty basically. So do we understand everything that goes into the story? So if you understand it, then the effort is reduced. But if there's some uncertainty that we don't understand, the effort down increases. So based on that, you just have to get a guesstimate basically and say, oh, okay, there are a lot of things, there are a lot of unknowns. So because there are a lot of unknowns, I'll go with 8. So during the internship, we'll have a particular sections to see how it's done in a normal working environment basically. So you will have the testers, you have the developers also. They come together, you would put an estimate on the story. Then if there's a common concession, you agree. But if someone is saying 1 and another person is saying 8, they will ask, why do you say 8? Or why do you say 1? Or if the mode is, let's say, 5 basically, so they will ask, do you want that off the mode basically, to say why? Because it's also possible that people might be thinking that this courses page is 5, and then other persons think that it is 1, because you think it's complex. The person will have to now explain that it's not complex, it's just text, and we've done similar thing before. Because of that, I don't think it's that complex. And other people will say, oh, I now realize that, we didn't even consider that the fact that we've done another page which is similar to the courses page. So because of that, we are happy. But also, two things that can happen: they can drop their own point, let's say to 3 or to 2, and also ask the guy that is got 1 and say, can you want to drop your point also to maybe 2, or increase your point rather to 2 or to 3. So they have concession. Other companies that work, they don't actually, they won't ask you for concession. They will also say that, okay, let's do another round of voting. So this time around, there's a new information that we have. We know that this particular page is not that complex. So then, another round of tests, another round of voting will go, and they would, from there, maybe the mode has increased. Everybody now, okay, so they will put the concession effort in there. So that's how you put the effort basically. So, and I think at this point, that's what you, so okay, like you're saying there some tabs here. This one shows the details. So you have the priority. So I know some people use 1, 2, 3, 4, and in other companies you have high, low, and medium, depending on what you have. So you put your priority here. So it's like which one should come first, in terms of. So you would also rate. You can rate them in priority order, also. But it's not used by most of the companies. I've seen several companies that don't use that as priority again at all. So you use your priority based on arrangement of your board basically. So okay, so then in there right now, okay, another thing I want to say also is the discussion also. When you are testing, or when you are on even the VAs, you want to communicate with any member of the team, or you want to communicate with someone that have written the story, or you feel like, okay, you want to make a comment on that particular story, you can put your comment on your discussion, and you can actually put art, the name of the person. So let's say I put art now, art. So I can put art, my name, basically, and then you can say the story is not ready for development as the AC is not yet completed. So you can put that, then you can save or save and close. If you click on the drop down, you have the save button. You can save so that don't close the button, you don't close the window. So you can see my discussion goes down. I can edit the discussion. This is a new feature on Azure Devop. Initially, you cannot edit your comments, but right now you can edit your comments. It's very new. I think a few months ago that was done. So you think, I'll make some changes. I can make some changes, and that is that. So, and also you could add art sign link. Yeah. So with art sign, you can link it with a product backlog item. So that brings that into place, and you can say, so you can say like at Jim, can you please look into this? So that's that. So you can save. So that is, yeah, so as you can see, it's linked to that particular story, and you put the state isn't approved and everything. So, and the next one is your link, actually. So as you can see, that's the history, basically. As you can see, it actually gives you a timeline of what you've done, how this particular story has moved, and also you have the log of what has been done on this particular story. And then if you click on each one, it's going to tell you at this point what was changed, what was written. That is one. Then going to the link, stories together. So for instance, I mentioned about requirement on traceability matrix in manual testing. So this is basically another way to in within this particular tool. This is a requirement right now, but I want to create my test cases for it. So, and what I can do, I click on add link and I click on new. Then as the link type, I can select whatever I want, but I can set, okay, it is a child, or it is tested by, or it's a test, or it's a test case. So depending on what you want, let's say I want it to have or affected by, or whether that's a bug or something like that. So depending on what you want. So let's say you want it as a child of that particular story, and it's going to be a test case. So, and I say, okay, or what's the test case? So cross-war. So let's say that's what I want to test, and the feature I want to test on this particular course page. So I'll click on OK. So when I click on OK, that takes me to writing test cases. Last week I mentioned how you can write your test cases in manual testing. So now I'm going to write my test cases using this particular tool. As you can see, so it's in design state and it's still new. This particular screen looks familiar with, as you can see from the other one with the product backlog item. But what you have, the change is you now have the actions and your expected results. So on your actions, you will need to create your step. So last week I actually went through what you need to put in your actions and what you need to put in your expected results. So if you are looking for that particular video, I think you should go on our channel and look for the introduction to manual testing. So that will explain how you need to create your test cases in manual. So you could say go to let's say this site is Blue Sky. Citadel.com. So then expected results will be the website is displayed correctly. Then maybe click on courses. Okay. So now what you need to do at this point, let me save this. So you're going to see what happens. So you can see this is my page. So, but bear in mind, you need to work with what the requirements say actually. So the requirements say that you should go to the page. When you're on the home page, you click on course tab, and then it should take you to the course page. That's what the requirement is saying. That's what you need to. So basically, you would just say, okay, let's say this is what we are actually testing. So I'll copy that one. Basically, go into my test case using the link. This is my test case. So, and I just want to paste it here so that and this one. So on your expected result, you need to put it when you're on the home page. What do you expect to see on the home page? The home page is displayed. So when you click on the course tab, the courses page is displayed. When you click on them, so apparently you don't need this then clause basically because that is your expected result. So I'm going to delete that one. So you can so you have all those formatting steps to be done. You can put the board, you can put attachments, you can. So I think you just play with this actually. So this screen is there if you want to maximize your step. It's actually on most of the sites, on most of the pages anyway. So, and you can enter full mode using this, and the same way you can restore that step back using that. So once you expand, it goes to that and you can expand it. Bear in mind there are two here, so that I don't get confused. There's one here for full screen, so and that's full screen, so you can restore it back using the same. So if you do the same thing for this one, it's going to increase and you store it back. So that is that. So same way you have the summary, you don't you have, if there's associated automation, we don't need to use that. As you can see, also you have the history, you have your link. As you can see, as that one was linked, this user story was linked to the step. The step is also linked back. Basically, you can see the cycle, and you can also add attachments. So if you have any attachment, you can click on that and add attachment to your own test case. Then you can save and close. You can as well, follow. But that is so quickly. Let's see. The question. Are we going to have a practice session on this? Yeah, you're going to have a practice session, and like I said, this is free, so you can actually, there will be assignments for you to do, so you can download, you can actually register and get your hand on it. I'm going to give you an assignment for you to to do. And if you send it on time, you're going to have the mentor reviewing it also. Okay. Okay. So the last thing I want to do is the setup of your board and then the test plan. So let me save this one. Okay. So now, let's go to our test plan now. So I'm going I'm not going to talk about the pipeline, because we're going to talk about the pipeline during our automation. We're going to talk about the reports, because we're going to use it during our automation. So what is this for? So I've used the board. So the board, the backlog. So yeah, the backlog is one. Backlog is one that we've used right now. You can have your analytics basically showing your cumulative diagram. We don't have anything. I mentioned the velocity. Basically, if you start to work on Azure on this particular tool, your velocity is going to be displayed there, basically, which is the average of the effort that you do in a sprint, basically. And so all this we're going to, during the internship, we're going to be using them actually. So you're going to have like 3 months of using this particular tool. And of course, by that time, you will see metrics and everything. So, and yeah, now your sprint backlog, like I said, we've used the backlog and we'll move it as a board. So for other, like I said, for other companies that work with, they use the backlog as it is right now. They move it. So once they've done the prep or the planning, they move this particular story into committed. So basically, they've got 4 items in planned, but now they are committing to do 3. So, and then they would start to put them into, once it's done, they put them in done. This is the standard, this is the basic step, basically. So, but however, you can customize this step. I'm going to show it to you right now. So you can customize this step, and so that it brings other flavoring. So you have your swim lane, and you can add more columns. So let's say we want to have dev done. So we want to have dev done. Oh no, sorry. I need to close that one. So I don't want that. I don't want to change that one. That's not what I wanted. So I actually want to create a new one. So I don't want to change the new. So new, yeah. I want to create a, let's say, in development. So that when the story is in development, so it should be in this particular column. So then I will put the backlog item that I want it should be during the committed stage. Then I want to also add when it is done, development is done, and also the same thing in committed state. So, and also once it's done, I want to say in QA. So, and this is one of the, it's possible with this might already been done for you. So, well, if it's not, you can also propose that. So what you need to do now is arrangement of this. When it goes into new, I will want to move into approved. So after approved, so I would commit to do those stories. Then developers are going to do it. It's going to go into in development, and then after that, the finish is done. Then QA is done. Then it goes into QA, and that's it. So that would be a process that you would follow basically. Now, when a story is in approved, it goes into committed. Then the developer will pick that story up, and when they pick it up and they finished it, they move it into dev done. Then as a QA, you pick it up in dev done and you move into your QA. So when you test that story and you think it's fine, you move it into done. Basically, that will be the flow of the work item at this particular point. So that is if you are using this backlog view, basically. So if you're using the sprint view, it's a different ball game actually. So what happens right now is, so if you go into a story, I will show you quickly. If you go into a story or product backlog item, let's say for instance, this one. So you have the iteration. This particular story is in sprint 1. So this story is in sprint 1, and let's say the other one, let's put this one in sprint 2 now. So sprint 2. So this is in sprint 1, that is in sprint 2. So now let's go into our sprint backlog and see what we have. Under our sprint backlog, because we are in sprint 1 now, it's only showing us these two because they are in sprint 1. So if I change to sprint 2, let me configure that and bring sprint 2 in. So if I go into sprint 2, as you can see, so that is sprint 2. So sprint 1, that is that. So I've got these stories in sprint 1. So, but because I moved one of them to sprint 2, as you can see, that is appearing in sprint 2. So how do you move the board from, if you are using the sprint concept? Let's say we go into sprint 1. If you are using the sprint concept, what you are going to do, you're going to be creating tasks basically. You create a new task, and maybe you call it a QA task, or you call the other one development task, and maybe you call another one BA task. In some cases also, developer will call it, maybe they call their own jargons, or you also want to call your own different jargons like spec flow, integration, something like that. If you are not going to use the what's it called, use like a title like this QA BA, you can also use this. So what you are going to do is like, this is basically to do. So once you start to work on that particular story, let's say the developer is working on that story right now, they put that ticket in progress. Yeah, and it's also possible that both of you are going to be working at the same time, because when developers are working on it, you also will be, let's say you are actually doing your spec flow integration, or you are doing your QA. So you're going to do that. So once developer has finished, they say the story is ready, you can do your manual testing. So also some cases you might say, okay, have manual testing like that, and so that you don't just use a generic name or something like that, then you put that. So let's say this is not ready, but this is the one that is ready. So then after you finish that, you say that is finished, then you move that. Of course, you will have assumed that the VA will have finished anyway, because they would have spec out the requirement. Then you move this one also. So once you move everything into that, you change the state to done basically. So that's when the story is done. So as you can see, these two approaches, they have their own merit and demerit. In this one right now, two people cannot work on one story. So because once you move it, yeah, if the QA is working on it, it has to be in the QA column basically. So when the developer is working on this story, you can say I'm also working on the QA. So that's the disadvantage of this particular method, but which this one also actually address basically. So if you go into here to sprint 1, we both of us can say we are working on this story. So both of us. For the issue is like, now when you are moving everything, you move all the tasks, you have to come in there and move the state of the ticket. So if you move everything to done, all the tasks to done, and you don't move the ticket, you don't move this particular task PPI to done, you've not actually done anything basically. So if you don't have a good board management, you might move the task and you don't move the product backlog item, which is not a very good practice basically. So that is very, very important to get that sorted. So that is the disadvantage of that. So, and it's based on what your company actually chooses to use. So another thing, I said I want to talk about the test plan. So you go to the test plan basically. So this will show you all your test script that you've created. So but before then you would want to create a test suite actually. So 1 minute. Okay. So you create a test suite like I've done. So you will now need to add your test cases inside. So, and when you have your test cases inside, so it becomes like kind of what I've done before in the manual testing. So everything becomes like a test plan basically. So you have your test plan. In this particular test plan, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tests actually that's written. So you have each one of them. You can click on them, so you can see. Okay, so because I've got the filter on, so that's why it was not showing before. So you click on each one, and here you got your test plan. So say you can add. So this one has not got any test plan. Sorry, 1 minute. Okay. There's some question. I'll come back to that 1 minute. So okay. So now you have your tests here, all the test cases. So and you can as well run the test cases. So what you just need to do is, I'll go through because I've got only a few minutes. I will look into this during the course of the internship also. So what you need to do, you click on the right one, and to run that test, you need to click on the 3 dots and you click on run. Basically, that's one way to do that. When you click on run, what happens is you have a window displayed at the left hand side. On this window, you have your test cases that you've created. So on 1 minute, let's see. So there's no description on that one. It says navigate to, but that one has not got any description. Let's take a different one that's got a better test case. Okay, let's look into this one. Okay, this is a good example. Now you have your test cases. These are listed. Now what you need to do is you need to either say it passed or it fails. So if it passes, you click on pass. So that is when you click on that. Your expected result size should be displayed. You go into this one. You click on the courses. Let's try to run it basically, so and see if this one is fine. Say we should go into this particular link. So instance. So that is the link. So okay. So you would Okay, so you would set, you go there and click on courses. So as you can see, I don't think there's courses here. So that actually failed. Maybe the site has been changed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fail that. So once you fail it, you can put your comment, no courses. Okay. So when you put your comments, you also can actually create bug. So you click on that and you put your title. Let's say the courses no displayed. So as you can see, what happens now, unlike the other one that we've seen, that you can type your retro step, this one actually now bring all your test cases inside and put it on your retro step. Basically, it actually does that for you. So, and you can see it's got everything. And also, if there's any attachment, it's going to also add that to you for you also. And you can also see the system information. And another thing also, it automatically links with your test cases and also the requirement. And for, I mentioned about traceability matrix. So basically, that's what this is all about. It's helps you to trace your test cases and also the parent PPI and also the test cases. So that's what you have, and you can close the bug, and that's it. You can continue testing. So that is that. So lastly, another thing before I quickly answer the question that I have is queries. Last thing I want to speak about is queries now. So let me go down here. So now on here, like I said, I've been able to cover the board, the backlog, the sprints, now the queries. So for you to use the queries, what do you use it for? One, you want to actually search so for a particular PBI or bug. So how do you search for it? You can search from here. Let's say courses. I'm looking for courses. So as you can see, it's no course at all, which is totally thing. Is that right? Say no. Okay. All right. Okay. I think that makes sense because this is the old. This is the one that. This is the project that we did that we didn't add anything. So if you go into this one is one that we're using right now. So if you go to the overview and let's search for courses on this one. So as you can see, the one that we worked on actually appears. So that's one way to search. So bear in mind, one thing also you need to very, very careful about is this particular search has got a context. So if you are on the repo and you are searching, you're going to be searching the code basically. So if you say courses or course, can you see nothing is coming up? So you need to know that you can say, so it takes you to this particular screen, but it said nothing is there basically. But because you are actually searching into the code, it's 0. But if you now switch into the work item, you have 17 work items that you can add. It's got courses inside. So this is one way to search basically. So another way is through the queries. So if you go in there and you click on queries, so and then you can click on new queries. So you can select the query that you want. I want to get a work item of any, and the state is any. So that will bring all the work items basically. So you run the query. So that should list all the work items in this particular project, all the work items. So as you can see, this is all the work items. But if I now want to restrict it and say, I want work item type to be only box. I want only box. So I can just say is equal to box and run the query. So it lists only the box for me. So, and let's say I now also restrict it and say add. I want it with tag. So, but I want it the tag that contains init, and let me run it. So it got these two. Let's say I also say I want the title now. So you can as well click the drop down to see fields that you can use basically. So there will be title here, okay? But I want the title that contains, let's say business. So, and you can run it. So that's one basically. So, and you can also combine actually. So you can combine. So this particular one, let's say you would select this, and now combine them together instead of saying and, because by default is and. So you can combine them with an, let's say, an or. Basically it's going to say this or that, but with and on the other one. So if you run this, what do you have? So you can see you have more, yeah, because now this is now being concatenated with or instead of and. So that's the operator that you're going to be using to search. So that's the search. So you can search for any, based on your criteria, you can search for any work item that you want, and as well you can save your query. Once you save it, you save, let's say I save it as my first query. So and you put in my query. So once you go to my query, I'll be able to see my query there. So, and one query that is also like this one now assigned to me. I just want to see queries assigned to me. I just want to see story that's assigned to me, so I can be able to work on them basically. So I don't need to be searching where is the one assigned to me, how is it assigned to me. So, but if you create your query and you can say assigned to me, or you put your tag, so depending on how story was assigned to you. So, and you can do that. So another thing also, you have a query already created. How do you edit? You just go to the editor basically, and that brings this for you. As you can see, the only thing I added in this particular query is only that assign is equal to at me. This is one way to say, if you're the one logged in, you can just say at me, or you can put your name and say this is the same thing. So I can just say at, yeah, me basically. So that is the same thing as putting my name. So, and then you save it basically. And that is it. So yeah.